You saw previously, in the series of videos on Christian eschatology, 200 years ago, the American Protestant evangelical church was intentionally infiltrated and seeded with a subversive virus theology intended to nullify theological resistance to the restoration of the Holy Roman Empire under the papacy. Also affectionately called the New World Order by pandering politicians, or historically, what had been known as Hitler's Third Reich. You saw in the series on terrorism, Islam was also infiltrated, and seeded with a similar corruption of its theology utilizing kamikaze suicide bombing developed by the Jesuits during World War II. This corruption of Islamic theology, referred to by some as Nazification, was imported into Islam through the Grand Mufti of Jerusalem working in collaboration with the Nazis and the Irish Republican Army, also known as the IRA. And Muslims have come to publicly admit their community is being manipulated by, and for the benefit, of restoring the Holy Roman Empire under the papacy. You saw in the series on evolution, that even atheism along with its current celebrity leadership, are openly Luciferian, and are engaging in the same kind of disinformation with atheists, that is happening with Muslims in Islam, and with Christians in Christianity, also on behalf of restoring the Roman Reich as part of cultural Christianity, without a God. And all socially engineered by the Vatican to serve its own grab for political power. In this series of videos, we will look at the historical origins of modern atheism and how it has been used as an ideological tool for restoring the Holy Roman Empire under the papacy in the past. And how it is being used today for the very same purposes. You might be surprised to discover, the origins and actual purpose of modern atheism, have nothing to do with atheism. In fact, the people behind the promotion of atheism in modern democratic societies, aren't even real atheists themselves. They are actually Christian, and to be more historically precise, they are Roman Catholic Jesuits. And, not only is the information concerning the historical origin of evolution a complete myth designed for the purpose of establishing a Vatican state in Europe, as you saw earlier in the series on evolution, but, as you will see in this series, even the information being given to the public concerning science itself, is complete intentional disinformation. And what you might be shocked to learn, is that real atheism in the classical sense, actually, no longer exists. It was wiped out as a result of science. Science not only makes atheism a completely antiquated paradigm, it actually proves the existence of God, and proves conclusively that He created the universe. It is an undeniable truth, but one no modern atheist will ever accept, precisely as the Vatican has actually programmed them to do. And, it is something the public is never told, simply because, the information does not serve the political and theological designs of the Vatican, in pursuit of its temporal power over the earth.
Hitler has often protested that his plans for conquest do not extend across the Atlantic Ocean, but his submarines and radars prove otherwise. And so does the entire design of his new world order.
Their idea was to destroy old order in Europe.
Stalin refused to join the anti-Hitlerian coalition.
Their idea was to destroy old order in Europe. Their idea was to destroy old order in Europe. Their idea. To destroy old order in Europe.
September 1st, 1939, Hitler attacks Poland from the west. Poland is desperately resisting the Nazis. But then, on September the 17th, Poland is unexpectedly attacked from the east by the Soviet Union. The Red Army looked different then. It entered the Second World War, side by side with the SS.
The German army met the Red Army in the middle of Poland, and then the two totalitarian monsters, Soviet and German, divided the country between them.
What the world did not know was that both dictators had agreed on more than Poland. In a secret protocol signed in the Kremlin a week before the war started, Hitler and Stalin agreed on the division of Europe. By this secret protocol, Hitler gave the green light for Stalin to occupy a number of European countries. The first on the list was Finland.
When the first bomber planes came to bomb Helsinki, the autumn, November 39, Finns thought that those Russian bomber planes were lost, simply that they were bombing Helsinki by accident.
Again the Russian bombers zoom over Helsinki. Again a proud city is shaken by the roar of destruction. Just feel your own heart beating faster as you see the buildings falling under the impact of the bombs.
For its brutal aggression against Finland, the USSR was expelled from the League of Nations. Only 3 countries had previously been labeled as aggressors by the League: militaristic Japan, fascist Italy, and Nazi Germany. Now they were joined by the Soviet Union. In Europe, the Soviet Union had only one ally left: Hitler. Hitler launched his blitzkrieg in the west. Nazis occupied Denmark, Belgium, Holland, Luxembourg. Norway was invaded with the direct help of the Soviet Union. Stalin provided the Nazis with a Soviet naval base near Murmansk, from which Hitler launched his attack on Norway. Stalin wrote to the Nazi Foreign Minister Ribbentrop, "The friendship between Germany and the Soviet Union was sealed by blood."
Can a book, centuries old, change the world? Renaissance scholar and Harvard professor Stephen Greenblatt has written what he calls a deceptively simple story.
A man, not particularly important fellow, goes into a library one day, takes a book off a shelf, and not instantly, but decisively, the world changes. So it's about that. What happens when something comes back? This is a book. The book he took off the shelf had been lost out of circulation for more than 1,000 years, and it carried something in it that turned out to change everything.
The book was called De Rerum Natura, or On the Nature of Things, written in the 1st century by the Roman Lucretius, a work of poetry, but also of science and philosophy.
It's a theory of everything. That's its glory and perhaps its absurdity. It tried to say what the nature of everything was. And it had at its center an ancient idea, wasn't invented by the poet, but actually by philosophers before him. But the whole theory was in effect lost. Lost. Except for this poem. And the theory is that the world consists of an infinite number of tiny particles. The ancient Greeks called them the things that can't be broken up, and that word for that was atoms.
And of course it has great resonance to our own, what became of science today.
Incredible resonance.
Renaissance scholar and Harvard professor Stephen Greenblatt has written what he calls a deceptively simple story.
This is the
At the Folger Shakespeare Library in Washington, D.C. recently, Greenblatt told us how he first came upon Lucretius by chance, picking up a cheap paperback translation when he was in college. He found a work that captivated him then and still does. portraying a universe without divine design, in which each of our souls dies with the body, in which each of our souls dies with the body, in which each of our souls dies with the body, in which each of our souls dies with the body, and crucially, humans have to seek their own happiness in knowledge and beauty. Greenblatt said these were dangerous ideas, especially as Christianity took hold.
Once you start thinking about these ideas, once you start thinking what the implications of a world made of atoms and emptiness and nothing else, lots of things potentially at least follow, and the things that follow can be extremely dangerous.
Greenblatt said these were dangerous ideas, especially as Christianity took hold. Especially as Christianity took hold.
Once you start thinking about these ideas, once you start thinking what the implications of a world made of atoms and emptiness and nothing else, lots of things potentially at least follow, and the things that follow can be extremely dangerous. Dangerous at least to orthodoxy, whether it's pagan orthodoxy or Jewish orthodoxy or Christian orthodoxy. That there is no afterlife, that there are no punishments or rewards, therefore divinely issued after we cease to be, that there must be no guarantee for all the values that we have. We make them up as we go along.
Poggio Bracciolini, a poor boy who became personal secretary to the Pope, personal secretary to the Pope, personal secretary to the Pope in 15th century Rome, and later literally a book hunter, joining the poet Petrarch and other scholars known as humanists who were obsessed with reviving the wisdom of classical Greek and Roman culture.
They dream of being able to discover somewhere, usually in the library of a monastery, some book that had slipped through from the ancient world and had survived into their time. And they, over and over again, managed to succeed in finding such things.
I mean, Poggio wasn't looking for Lucretius. He was looking for something, right? There's some text from the past.
He was hoping to find anything,
yeah.
And he had his mind well stored with the names of people who hadn't been read in 1,000 years.
Yeah.
And he thought maybe we could find them.
In 1417, probably at the Benedictine monastery in Fulda, Germany, Poggio pulled a book from the shelf, the last surviving copy of De Rerum Natura, on the nature of things. We don't know what happened at that moment, but somewhere he pulls the book off the shelf and opens it, sees the title, and knows he's got something.
He knows he's got something, and he does something crucial, which is he copies it and sends it to his friends, and they begin to copy it, so it begins to spread again.
So that's how things get passed on.
Exactly.
The book spread, as did its ideas. To artists, Botticelli's Primavera or Allegory of Spring portrays a scene from the poem, to seminal thinkers, among them Galileo, Isaac Newton, Charles Darwin, Thomas Jefferson, who incorporated concepts such as the pursuit of happiness from Lucretius and other philosophers into his own thinking, and to the young Stephen Greenblatt. There's a passage late in the book, I want to read it to you. There are moments rare and powerful in which a writer long vanished from the face of the earth seems to stand in your presence and speak to you directly, as if he bore a message meant for you above all others. I mean, I couldn't help but think that this is you, in a sense.
It is me, Jeff. It is, first of all, it is me in relation to Lucretius as this happens, because I happen purely by accident to come on this text at a point in my life when I was quite young, in which it spoke very powerfully, directly to me. I had the eerie experience of something speaking to me as if the person knew me. And I think anyone who has any experience of an encounter with the ghosts of the past, experience of an encounter with the ghosts of the past, experience of an encounter with the ghosts of the past, the ghosts of the past, knows what I'm talking about, where it seems impossible, and yet it's happening. It seems impossible, and yet it's happening.
In which each of our souls dies with the body.
It seems impossible, and yet it's happening.
In which each of our souls dies with the body.
The ghosts of the past, knows what I'm talking about, where it seems impossible. It seems impossible. It seems impossible, and yet it's happening. It seems impossible, and yet it's happening. It seems impossible, and yet it's happening. And yet it's happening. And yet it's happening. And yet it's happening.
All right, the book is The Swerve, Stephen Greenblatt. Nice to talk to you.
Nice to talk to you, Jeff.
Poggio Bracciolini, a poor boy who became personal secretary to the Pope in 15th century Rome, and later literally a book hunter, joining the poet Petrarch and other scholars known as humanists.
Copies it and sends it to his friends, and they begin to copy it, so it begins to spread again.
So that's how things get passed on.
Exactly.
The book spread, as did its ideas.
No guarantee for all the values that we have. We make them up as we go along. We make them up as we go along. We make them up as we go along.